What is up, you guys, and welcome back. I'm so happy to have you here with me. Today, I'm super excited about this episode. It's something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. I'm so glad that it came out the way it did. This episode is all about turning your pain into your purpose, taking the hard times and embracing them and holding on to them and not just getting through life, not waiting for the next chapter to turn over, but embracing where we are right now. I have 6 things for you to consider if you are going through any sort of hard time. If you find yourself telling yourself, it'll be better when I get a new job. It'll be better when I'm in a new relationship. It'll be better when we move. It'll be better 6 months from now, a year from now. We tell ourselves a story all the time. It'll be better when, and really the work today is to embrace this chapter right now, even if you are being called to wait by hearing back from a job, if you're waiting in between relationships, if you are waiting to sign a lease, if you're being called to wait, there's still so much to be gained in every single moment. And so that is what this episode is about. It's about turning that uncomfortable time, the times that you want to escape, the times where you just want it to hurry up, you'd like to, push the button and fast forward through life. This episode is all about how to embrace that time and to make it meaningful and make it purposeful for you. Anyway, without further ado, welcome to the Get Out of Your Head podcast, where we talk all about the stories that keep you stuck, blocked from manifesting what you really want, and away from your authentic life. I am your host, Sarah, from Spirit, Mind, Body. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am so happy to have you here with me. If you are new to this podcast, welcome. If you are returning, I'm so happy to have you here again. I cannot do, of course, what I do without you. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, honestly, for being here with me. Today, I am talking about the story that we tell ourselves often. And it's something to the tune of, it will be better when. We tell ourselves a story all the time. It'll be better when this happens in the next season of life, when I turn the page, when this is all over, when I don't have to deal with this anymore, and on and on. The first time I think I did this was with a relationship. The first time I was aware that I was doing this was within a relationship when I was in college. And I would tell myself this all the time. It'll be better when the next semester comes, it'll be better at Christmas break or when we're on summer break, or it'll be better when we move in together or when we move out of the dorms. I know I'm like dating myself, but honestly, this story kind of kept going on, and I can say that this happened to me in college, but I still know people who tell themselves in relationships, it'll be better when we move out of this apartment and into this house. It'll be better when you get your new job, whatever. This happens with our jobs too. I've been in so many jobs when I said to myself, it'll be better when I get promoted, when I move offices, when I make more money, when I have a new boss. And I keep looking to the future, and turns out I get promoted, I move offices, I get a new boss, and it still isn't better. In parenting, this is actually something that is hitting pretty close to home, because I've been telling myself, to be totally honest and transparent with you guys, I've been telling myself this a lot lately, or I was telling myself this a lot lately until I caught it. But I was saying I have 2 little ones. One is 6 months. One is just over 2. You can imagine we have a very, very busy house. And I was telling myself this story of it'll be better when the baby is older, in a year, in 2 years, and I kept looking forward to the future. I had to kind of come to Jesus moment with myself, where I had to take a step back. I had to come to this realization that I was fast forwarding through moments of my life that, yes, were hard, but I was so intent on escaping them that I wasn't realizing the gifts that they had to offer. The thing is that I think that we are never intended to just get through life. I don't think that the point of being here is ever just to endure or just to wait it out or wait till it gets better. Maybe, okay, I should say maybe sometimes, and obviously it depends on what is true for you and where you are at in this life, but maybe the point is to teach you patience. Maybe you are making it like you are being asked to wait, for something, but in the moment that you're feeling discomfort and the moment that you're like trying to escape it, I don't really think that the point is to escape it. Even in waiting, we can still be present. I don't think that the point is to ever try to wish the season of life you're in away. And I think a lot of us did this in 2020, especially, and maybe even bleeding into 2021, where we were kind of telling ourselves, it'll be better when things open back up. It'll be better when the vaccine comes out, or it'll be better when all these things happen. Guess what? 2021 is here. And my guess is that if you had problems in 2020, they kind of followed you into 2021. They didn't necessarily go away because tomorrow came. And that's kind of the message today. That's my whole message is things aren't going to get better because tomorrow comes. There are gifts for you in this very present moment that it is the work to embrace those gifts. And so that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. I have 5 perspectives, things that you to consider that maybe will help in your next, if you're not in a phase of life right now where you're kind of trying to escape. I think that we probably all enter this over and over and over again. And so there are 5 things that I have for you that maybe you could consider that would help you kind of embrace or move through your next season of life with a little more grace instead of trying to weasel our way out of it. Before I get into the 5, I just want to share this thing with you that kind of dawned on me. But I was listening to Alan Watts' Just So. You can find it on Audible. It's like an audio, it's like an audio book, but it's an audio recording. He's recording it in front of a live audience, but he's talking about polarities and contrast. And the thing that hit home for me so much was when he said, the problem is that you wanted to play a game in which you never lost. And that is the key to it. We cannot play games and expect to be winners all the time. It doesn't happen. If you want to have winners, you're going to have losers. If you want black, there has to be white. Otherwise, it's just nothing. There's nothing to compare it to. If you want good, there has to be bad. There is this duality that we have to recognize. We can't just say, and this is maybe somebody would disagree with me, but in the spiritual world, I think a lot of people are like, we can all win. We can all be abundant. We can all do this. And yes, that is true, but you have to detach from the game in order for that to happen. Does that make sense? If you're in the game, if you're playing the game, there's got to be winners and losers. And so if you want to experience winning, you got to have to be willing to experience losing. In order for you to win, somebody else has to lose. And that might sound harsh and like not idealistic, but you know what? I'm a realist, and that is the truth of the matter. But here's the thing. When you accept loss as part of the process, when you get to a point where you're losing at a phase in your life where you feel like you're losing, and I told myself that a lot lately, like, I just feel like I'm losing. I feel like I can't win. When you accept that sometimes you have to lose as a part of life, sometimes you're not going to have all good days. When you accept that, you can kind of like become a good loser. Does that make sense? You kind of start seeing it as not a reflection of the person you are, or that you're a failure, or that you are failing. It's more like, this is the part that I'm playing right now. This is the experience that I'm having of losing. And I realize that I have to experience this because this lets me experience winning. And on the other side of this discomfort is so much pleasure. When you start to see it as that, then losing doesn't really become so bad. It takes that gravity out of it. It gets really dense when we feel like we are losing, or when we feel like we're in it. And so when we're kind of at the bottom of that and we feel like we just can't get out and we're trying to escape it and we accept it, then it stops being a thing to escape, and it stops being so bad. Losing becomes now just another experience instead of something to be avoided or to be shunned. And then also you can more fully celebrate when other people win, or because you lost, somebody else won. Or you can look at yourself and say, this is the moment where I lose, and on the other side of this is winning. You can more fully celebrate that time of winning instead of needing to win all the time and then just escaping the loss or trying to escape the moments where you lose. And I just have a really quick story for you, but I learned this firsthand when I was in high school. I went on some kind of antidepressant. I probably couldn't even tell you what it was at this point, but the psychiatrist explained it to me as like a mood stabilizer. And so this thing is going to stabilize your mood. You're going to take it every day and you won't experience the lows so low. That was like what was sold to me. Okay, great. So I started taking this thing and I felt so flat. It was the worst experience that I had ever had. It made every day was the same. Every day was, what is the point? Why am I experiencing this if I don't experience the highs and the lows? And I want to experience the highs and I want to fully embrace the lows because that's what makes the high, And so when I took all of that away, the highs and the lows, and I just experienced this baseline flatness, it was like, this was not the point. And this was just on the record. This was just my experience. Obviously, antidepressants help a lot of different people. And certainly my experience is not the same experience that everybody else has had. But I'm just telling you that this was what happened to me. And from that point, I was like, no, I'm experiencing the highs. I'm experiencing everything life has to offer because that's the point of it. We come into this physical existence. The whole point is to experience polarities. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to roll into these 5 things that I have for you. And the first one is to experience contrast. So let me take a step back. You might need to do these 5 things. And when you consider these 5 things, maybe that helps you embrace your present moment, however hard it may be at the time. Okay. So the first thing is that you may need to experience contrast. You might need to experience bad in order to experience good. I know people who have boatloads of money and they still have this poverty-stricken mindset, this I will never have enough. In their internal world, they're still going to be searching and grasping, even though from an objective point of view, we could all say, oh, you have everything you could ever want. They're still like spiritually deprived because they're grasping for material things because they've never experienced the other side. They've never experienced what it's like to have nothing. They've never experienced what it's like to not get whatever you want in the moment because they always have. And so when you have those times where you're not able to get whatever you want, or your job sucks, or you're in a relationship that's not aligned, or you're doing something that's not easy, then you can experience things when they come up that are easy, that are aligned. You can know what a bad relationship is, and then you can experience a good relationship more fully because you can reflect on that time and you can say, I was in this relationship where we really didn't jive. We really didn't get along on this level. And now I'm in this relationship that we're like, I see it, but it's not going to happen like that bright side is not going to be able to be apparent to you until you experience those dark and stormy days. Another way to think about it is think about drinking a glass of water, just like a regular pint glass of water. Obviously, that pint glass of water is going to taste so much better after you've been deprived of water for a day, right? If you are very, very thirsty and dehydrated, that glass of water tastes better than honey. But if I have just slammed a half a gallon of water and now I'm being forced to drink this pint glass of water, same glass of water, same amount, same thing, it's going to taste way worse after I've had so much water already. Does that make sense? So what I'm trying to say is that when we experience contrast, it makes the goods so much better. We are able to appreciate things way more fully. And there's this other idea that on the other side of your fears lie your desires. And so if you're going through something that you would consider to be like your personal hell, or you're going through hard times, just know that there is another side to that. There's another side to that coin, and it is the bright side, and it is what you really want. But the universe has to show you the dark side first in order for you to be like, okay, this is what I want is on the other side. Now how do I get there? But without escaping, if that makes sense. Okay, the second thing is that you may need to embrace your problems. Here's the thing. Every single person in this world has problems. Problems range from financial problems, relationship problems, job problems, struggles with kids, struggles with health, struggles with politics, struggles with ideas, struggle with family, the family of your upbringing, struggles in religion. There are so many different, every single person has problems. Your problems are your problems. These are the problems that your highest self chose for you to experience so that you can move in your life. And these are the problems that push you closer to your divine path. These are the problems that help you grow into the person that you literally came here to be. And so in the same way that you hate your annoying sister, right? You hate your annoying sister or brother or sibling or whatever. Could you embrace your problems like, okay, this is the one that was designed for me. I love you, but I hate you, and we're moving through it. So maybe this whole idea of why you're going through what you're going through, right? We always want to find meaning for our struggles. Maybe that's it. This is the thing that's getting you closer to your path. And you might not understand it right now, but I could be willing to bet that you would look back at any hard time that you've had in the past, and you can look at it and say, my God, I understand why I went through that now. Even though at the time you would be like, I have no clue why I went through that. So on that note, the third thing that I have is you may need to learn a lesson from it. You might need to change your attitude about a situation. You might need to become more empowered and take the bull by its horns and change your reality. You might need to ask yourself, where are you settling because you allowed somebody else to take charge of your life? You might need to put more boundaries up. You might need to tell that person no. You might need to find yourself. There is a lesson to be learned within these hard times. And if you are giving your power away, maybe the lesson is to take it back. Or maybe the lesson is to change your mind about it. Maybe the lesson is for you to look at your situation and realize how gifted you are, how blessed you are for all the things that you have, instead of trying to escape it or saying, I need more, I need more, I need more. And it's kind of funny because I think that we kind of think that accepting your present is like sort of settling. We almost think that if I were to accept my present situation, my relationship, the way my partner is, my job, whatever flavor it is for you, if you accept it, then that's almost like saying, okay, I'm throwing in the towel, I'm giving up the fight. And that's not the case. Acceptance is more like, okay, this is a reality. I can change it now, but now once I've accepted it, I change it from a more empowered state, and I'm doing it more consciously rather than reactively. If I don't accept it, then my subconscious is still in control in some way. Conscious decisions are when you look at things and you say, okay, I know I have a choice here. And either way, I know that I don't make the wrong choice. I just make the more empowered choice, or I make the more aligned choice, or the choice that's more in line with my highest self. But I know that there's no wrong choice, and I'm going to look at my options and make the conscious choice here. So when you accept your reality, you say, okay, I'm okay. Like, I can be in this job for as long as it takes. And I may not like it, but there are good things about it. And I'm going to look for the good thing, and I'm going to settle into being okay with that. Then whatever choice you make going forward isn't it starts to become non-reactionary. You're not like doing it because you're forced into it. You're doing it because you want to. I always tell my husband, like, I'm not with you because I need you. I'm with you because I want to be with you, and when you choose something consciously, that's you being a creator. Okay, so the fourth thing that I have for you is that you may need to do some shadow work or integrate your shadows. So if you don't know about the shadow is this Jungian thought. I think it came from Carl Jung, but he says that the shadow is the pieces of ourselves that we've either disowned or rejected or pushed down so deeply that we don't recognize them as part of ourselves. So your triggers will point to your shadow. Where you're very drawn to something will point to your shadow. Your untapped gifts and potential, that's an aspect of your positive shadow. That would be like, say I'm really good at singing, but somebody in my childhood told me I sucked at singing, and so now I don't sing, but I was really born to be a singer and to uncover that gift. But in the meantime, I judge other people for singing. I tell somebody, you shouldn't sing. And it's really just a manifestation of my untapped potential that needs to be unleashed. Okay, so that's a little tangent about shadows, but all that to say that whatever bothers you, because we end up projecting our shadow outward. And so we see things in other people and in other situations that we absolutely abhor because we haven't looked at it. We haven't come face to face with it consciously yet. And so when we are projecting, we are triggered, we're bothered by somebody, we're extremely annoyed, and so we tend to judge them because it makes us feel a little more elevated. It makes us feel better than. It makes us feel like we're winning because we would rather not face our shadow. And so when you integrate these shadows, when you go there, when you say, okay, what part about judging somebody else am I not looking at myself? What part of myself am I still not accepting or reject, or what part of myself am I still rejecting? When I look at that and I can make peace with those things, then those things stop to bother me. They stop bothering me, right? And then again, I become a more conscious and a more empowered person and more like the person I want to be. I think that when we look at it, we could all say, my ideal person, of the person that I would like to be patient. I would like to be totally accepting. I would like to love others the way that I want to be loved. I want to be empowered. I want to embody my highest purpose, right? But then we subconsciously reject other people when they don't fit their mold of what we think we should do. And so integrating your shadow helps you get closer and closer to that ideal person that you know you should be or know that you want to be. Unconditional love is really where it comes down to. Okay, the fifth thing that I have for you is that you may need to come into the present moment. And this kind of wraps back to what I was saying before. Like, I don't think that in life we are ever meant to just get through it. If you find yourself just getting through it, maybe you need to stop and smell the roses. And this has actually been something that has been very, very, very healing and helpful for me recently. Noticing the little things. When I feel like I want to escape this, I'm up all night with a sick, crying baby, and then my toddler gets sick too, I have to stop at some point because there is beauty in every single day. There's beauty actually in every single moment. It just depends on what you're focusing on, right? And so can I look at my child's face and a smile could just light up my entire world? And if you're not a parent and you don't identify with this, it could be little things like taking off your shoes at the end of the day, or just noticing like the breeze on your face when it's hot outside, or a joke that your coworker told you even though you hate your job, or the fact that you have a computer and you have the resources to do your job, or you get a paycheck that pays the bills. I think we take all of these things for granted, and part of the process is noticing The present moment will always anchor you into the goodness of life. It's your constant reminder that no matter how bad it gets or no matter how hard it is, there is always something to look at to say that you can put your finger on and say, yes, this was worth it, or this is it. How blessed am I to be able to experience this? How good did that feel? My sister-in-law's boyfriend, or fiance, I should say, always says the best things in life are free. And at some point that really landed with me and it has stuck with me. You don't need to go out and buy stuff to accumulate more things. We don't need to drink massive amounts of alcohol. We don't need to binge or turn off or numb, because everything you could ever want is right here, right now. It's just a matter of noticing it in the moment and being grateful for that, right? And then also, to go back to the very beginning, the way that you find that, I think, is through experiencing polarities and experiencing contrast, remembering the time where you didn't have a car and you had to walk, remembering the time that, it was hard, that you had 5 cents to your name, remembering the time that it wasn't that easy. And even if you are being asked to wait in this life for something like the next chapter, because a lot of times we find ourselves in this holding pattern, you're waiting to hear back from a new job, you're in between relationships, you're looking for that next person, you're being asked, to wait for the chapter into parenthood or whatever it is for you, the next season of life, you're in this holding pattern. Still, the answer is to come into the present moment and to embrace the wait. It's never just to get through it. And I just want to end this episode by saying that, listen, you guys, problems are real. Problems exist. None of these, lists of things to consider, whatever you want to call them, is ever that's the intention is not to be like, okay, just embrace it and now your problems are gone, right? That's still escaping it. Sometimes what we need to do is to know that we're not alone. Sometimes we need to reach out to somebody. Sometimes our hardships, okay, maybe this is another one, I just thought of it. Number 6, put this on your list. Sometimes we experience hardships so that we can connect with somebody else. I remember when I gave birth, I all of a sudden was connected to all people who have ever given birth in the entire history of the universe. That's the way that I felt, because I was like, there's connection in suffering. And actually, I'm reading Untamed by Glennon Doyle right now, and she just talked about this. She's talking about how, in my loneliness, I found connection. I was connected to all these people who have ever experienced loss in your life, and so maybe that's another thing too, is that we go through hard times so that we can experience that connection. Connection is what binds us. Connection is what makes it better. Connection is what, we say like, hey, I'm here. I'm with you too. There's so much power in struggle together in the trenches. But anyway, I digress. Problems are real. We need to acknowledge them. Especially when it's tough. Sometimes we need to connect. Sometimes we need to know that we have a shoulder to lean on. Sometimes we need to reach out and talk about it and give ourselves what we need and give ourselves some grace and say, like, you know what? I'm acknowledging this. This is hard right now. This is so tough. And yeah, I don't want to go through it, but this is part of it, right? It's like you can accept that where you are without trying to necessarily escape it, but also acknowledge and say, hey, this is a tough time for me, and being honest about it. But I think at some point, if we continue down that path and we keep telling ourselves like, it's hard, it's hard, it's hard, it's hard, we have to, stop and ask ourselves, am I telling myself it's hard when it's not really that hard? Am I ruminating for no reason? Where am I telling myself that it's gonna be so difficult, or it's, I'm sort of like making this a self-fulfilling prophecy because I'm telling myself it's hard, it's hard, it's hard. Acknowledge that it's hard sometimes it is difficult, but like, can you find meaning in your suffering? Can you turn your pain into your purpose? And that's what this whole episode is really about, is like, How do you turn your pain into something that is meaningful and into something that is, something to be embraced instead of something to escape? Okay, thank you guys so much for joining me. I am so happy to have you with me. I know I say it all the time, but honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I can't be here without you. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And I will see you next time. If you enjoyed this episode, I would invite you to subscribe, share it with someone you know, and leave an honest rating or review. You can also connect with me through Instagram at spiritmind.body, through YouTube, or my website. Links to all of these can be found in the show notes below. This work is not easy and requires tremendous self-reflection, grit, and a willingness to be misunderstood, and for that, I honor every single one of you for showing up for your authentic self. Until next time.